I'm currently at the gynecologist about to have my IUD taken out. I'm in this cute little gown and everything. And hopefully it'll be pretty seamless. If you've ever gotten an IUD put in, you know that it's a little bit uncomfortable. So hopefully it's fast and I'll be back at my apartment in like the next hour. And then I'll recap kind of why I am doing this and how it went. Okay, fingers crossed. I'm back from the gynecologist, IUD free, and it's honestly really crazy. I started on birth control, just taking the pills, when I was 18, and now I'm 26, and this is the first time in, 8 years I haven't been on birth control. I honestly feel different, not to be dramatic. I know I don't feel physically different, but I definitely feel mentally different. It's just weird knowing that there's nothing that I'm taking or nothing that's in my body that's protecting me from getting pregnant. Kind of scary, honestly, but it's weird. And I got my IUD May 2021, so I've had it for over a year now. And my experience when I did get it in, if you have gotten an IUD, then you know how uncomfortable it is, and everyone's experience is a little bit different. I've met people who really are like, that was the most painful thing I've ever done in my entire life, and then you'll meet people and they're like, oh, it really wasn't that bad. And I'd say when I got it, it was, oh, and I got the copper IUD, by the way, so non-hormonal copper. And when I did get it, it was very, very uncomfortable, and I feel like that's the only way to describe it. I wouldn't say it was painful, but it was definitely just very, very uncomfortable, coupled with the worst period cramps you've ever had. And they're not actually period cramps, obviously, but they feel like period cramps, so just uncomfortable and cramps. And when I did get it in, I was literally laying there, legs apart on the stirrups, ready to go, and my gynecologist straight up said to me, she like had it in her hand and was like, oh wait, I forgot to ask you, like tell you before I put this in, just as a heads up, since you're getting off your hormonal birth control, like the pills I was taking, and you're now getting in a non-hormonal IUD, you might gain a lot of weight and get crazy acne. I shouldn't say crazy, but she said you might gain weight and get acne. Are you okay with that? And I'm literally sitting there like, I mean, I guess, like, I'm here, I'm ready to go. I'm not gonna stop you right now. I definitely could have, but I would have thought about it maybe a little bit more. I was just like, okay, yeah, sure, put it in. So she put it in, I had the cramps and stuff like that, and then when I went back 2 weeks later, after you get an IUD, you go back and you get an ultrasound just to make sure it was placed correctly. Mine was a little bit wonky. If you know what an IUD looks like, it looks like a T, and mine kind of had a wonky arm, so it kind of looked like this, and it was tilted. And of course, when I found that out, I had a small panic attack, obviously. And then I went and talked to my gynecologist, and she was like, it's fine. It's still gonna protect you against pregnancy. There's no harm for you to have the wonky arm. I can take it out and redo it, but there's really no issue having it. So I ended up just keeping it in because I was not about to go through that whole experience again if it wasn't completely necessary. So I had my IUD in, and I had like pretty irregular periods really the whole time I was on it. I would spot a lot in the beginning, and then my period was just pretty irregular. Sometimes it would be like less than 30 days, sometimes it would be more than 30 days that I would get my period, which was always kind of hard, just kind of weird, but I did always track it. Now that I wasn't on hormones, I found that my experience with my periods was different, like my mood specifically. I did start taking a magnesium supplement, which was suggested by my gynecologist, but around my period, I was always just very hyper aware of when I was going to get my period, which I had never felt before when I was on birth control, the hormonal birth control, like the pills. So for example, the week leading up to my period, I always felt very bloated and very like crampy, and my mood was always a little bit off. I wouldn't say it was like that typical like PMS crazy, I hate even using the word crazy to describe any feelings that women are having, but that typical like upset, mad type PMS, it was always just a little bit off, like I felt a little bit down almost. And then when I actually got my period, it felt like a relief. And I can't even describe it other than when I would actually start bleeding, me feeling like okay, like it's finally come. And it would always be a surprise. I don't know why. Every month I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so pissed off. Like, I hate my life. Like, I would just be kind of sad and like feel so bloated and gross. And then I get my period and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. This happens literally once a week, every month. Once a month, every week. You know what I'm talking about. Before I would get my period. And it really would, though, be the strongest release. It was so weird. I also never experienced that weight gain or acne that my gynecologist mentioned. I did kind of break out a little bit on like my chin and my jawline around like once a month, like around my period, which I know usually indicates that it has something to do with your hormones, which makes sense. But other than that, it was nothing super crazy. I also was like pretty depressed for like 8 months after I got my IUD. Not right after, but a couple months after. I was pretty depressed for a while. I think that was because, though, I hated my job. It was pretty, like, once I got a new job, I like wasn't really depressed anymore. But I don't know if being on a non-hormonal IUD and not being on those hormones from my birth controls, if that had an impact, I would have felt that way if I was on the pills still. I don't know why I keep saying on the pills. On the pill. Anyway, so I did have that also short stint with depression, but it's all good now. And that was really all that I experienced on the IUD. Other than all of that, I really did have a good experience with it. I would definitely have stayed on it, but the reason why I did take it out is that I'm trying to figure out, if you watch my first video, you know that I'm trying to figure out if I have PCOS or not. And my endocrinologist told me that one of the symptoms that I was having that usually is associated with PCOS, which is irregular periods, I can't really say for certain whether that's because I have PCOS or because I'm on like my IUD, because my IUD did cause me to have like spotting and irregular periods. So in order to truly tell if I did have PCOS and then take any steps to kind of balance my hormones would be to take my IUD out and monitor my period on its natural cycle, which I am really excited about, to see what my natural cycle looks like, because I haven't really seen it since I was 18. And once I kind of look at it for a couple months, I'll be able to go back to the endocrinologist and get some more concrete answers on whether or not I do have PCOS, so I can take those steps to, I don't know if fix it is the right word, but at least address the issue that I've been seeing. I'm trying to think if there's anything else around my IUD. I did get the copper one because I didn't want to be on hormonal birth control anymore. Definitely, though, it really depends on you and your preferences and your body. I'm not better than anybody by getting the hormonal IUD. It was just my choice, but luckily we all can make our own choices on what kind of birth control we want to use. For now, at least. I mean, who knows these days. But yeah, I'm really excited to kind of see what my period looks like when it is completely natural, and then hopefully get some more answers on my PCOS. And I hope this video is helpful for anybody that is thinking about taking out their IUD or has just taken out their IUD. I feel like a lot of different reasons why people decide to go on or off birth control, but it isn't always just because they want to get pregnant, which I'm not really looking to do. So fingers crossed, now I'm on birth control. And thanks for watching.